Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today. We're super excited to bring Shawn Lemon, the founder of the Digital Organizer, on the show, who is helping franchisees and franchisor systems help organize all the back end stuff so that they can keep their businesses and personal lives as well organized.
Totally.
So welcome to the welcome to the show, Shawn.
Thanks, Guy. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before. So you are based in the Nashville area. And are you from there originally?
I'm actually from Las Vegas, lived in California for a little bit, and then came here in 2007.
Okay. All right. Part of the boom down there. So,
Oh, yeah,
and you're loving it?
totally. It's been a massive amount of people moving here. It's a constant growth since I've been here. So pretty different town, but still pretty charming.
Yeah. Great. Great. Well, let's get right into why people are tuning into the show. And as you know, our main audience is franchisees who are part of franchise systems, as well as some emerging franchisor systems. And I think this is hugely important from an organizational perspective and almost a personal wellness perspective, because
Absolutely.
small business ownership, it's not if you're going to have challenges, it's when and how many at one time. And the more organized you are, the better you're able to handle it. And as a franchisee for many years and a franchisor, I've seen it from both sides. And over again, I've seen the higher performers in systems, whether it's Anytime Fitness or Frenchies or Wax in the City or any of the other ones that we've worked with. They usually have some kind of a system that helps them manage the chaos. And I would love you to just kind of give a 10,000 foot summary of what you do, both on an individual level and maybe from a system level.
Yeah. So we feel like that there are four primary areas that every business deals with that can create a lot of friction. And if you can smooth those out, it really helps with the day-to-day stress and giving you that feeling of control, of knowing what's going on, that things aren't slipping through the cracks. And I feel like it's those types of things slipping through the cracks that cause us more stress and keep us in that fight or flight state of our fireman's hat on, of putting out fires all over the place. So if we can get you out of reactive mode and get into proactive mode and really stay on top of things, so you're not having to look in tons of different places to find what you're looking for, or be completely inundated with so many messages that really aren't relevant for your day-to-day, but it's where the good stuff gets lost in. If we can get all that stuff sorted out, then we can really give you a lot more peace, a lot more clarity and focus for the things that are really important throughout your day, that are going to move the needle forward so you don't feel like you're still spinning your wheels. And that's
Great.
primarily broken up into four different areas. Like I said, email, files, where do you find everything, your passwords, just getting in and out of things, and your team being able to get into shared accounts, and then project management. So where are you tracking all the tasks? Do you have the projects that you work on over and over again templated out so that it's actually acting as a standard operating procedure, so that you can see where everyone is at in the process and stuff like that? So we can create these dashboards to really give us the insight into our business of how things are going operationally. So smooth out communication, smooth out where we're storing our files so everyone knows where to go. We're not dealing with password issues, and we have our processes documented, checked off, and we can see the progress that's being made on projects that aren't necessarily something that's being provided to us by the franchisor.
Right, right. And I was gonna get that from a level of the franchisor has a bunch of tools, presumably,
Hmm.
that they offer
Yeah,
to franchisees to help run their business. So what you're talking about is not trying to recreate the wheel on what they want to have in place, but all the things that kind of trickle down to the personal level of, like you said, your emails, your files, your passwords, and then the project management. And I just had a quick aside on that because people have their own approaches to this. And I would just like to get an expert's opinion on this.
sure.
So, my wife and co founder, Stephanie, can find things from 14 years ago faster than I can find things from last week.
Yeah.
And And I have a bunch of different tools. They do talk to each other, but I'll find it, but she finds it faster. And a
Yeah.
lot of it she finds in her email. So what's your take on, like, I get stuff out of email because it bugs me to have it in there,
Yeah.
right? But over and over again, she's like, yeah, I just found this in an email from 8 years ago. So
hmm
what's your take on that, on people using their email system, whatever system they're using, as almost
hmm
a filing system?
I don't particularly like it. And the reason is because you might be able to find something in there, but how can any of your teammates? So if we
Mm,
don't have a shared folder structure that everyone can access the appropriate documents, whether it's just for the executive team or for the entire team or for your household, then you have friction trying to find something, but she can find it really quickly. So she's the bottleneck.
mm,
And so
yeah,
it's fast for her, but it's not for you. And you haven't figured out your filing system well enough to be able to find it quite as fast as her. So what we're trying to do is figure out, how do we process email really quickly so that we don't live there, because the messages keep coming throughout the day. We want to be able to check our email a few times a day, get in there, do what we need to do, get what we need out of there, get
mhm,
the contracts out of email and put into a folder for contracts that's shared with the people who need access to it in a way that's really easy to navigate through a folder structure, or easy to search for because you've named it really well. And there are some
right.
key pieces that most people are missing, that are trying to get stuff out of email and put them in folders, and it's not working well. It's just because you probably haven't dialed in that folder structure really well and had a consistent place to save things and a consistent way of naming them. And so we want to change our web browser settings. So if you're using Chrome, you're going to go into preferences or options and click on the download section on the left, and you can toggle a switch that says, instead of downloading to my downloads folder or desktop, wherever it's defaulting to, you change it to say, ask me where to save it. So this way, when you save it, it shows you your folders and you can navigate to the spot that it's supposed to go in the first place. And
Okay.
then it'll also give you the option to rename that file right when you're saving it, so that it goes to the right spot the first time. And there's no organizing later on down the road. I don't want you to have to organize your downloads folder, because the fact is, you got way more important things to do than to sit
Yeah.
there and sort through your
Yeah.
downloads folder every Friday afternoon. Like, most people aren't that disciplined. And if so, then you
Yeah.
don't need me or my company.
Right.
So, the same thing goes for email. It's like, let's get in, find those messages. When we've got an attachment, save it somewhere. When we've got a to-do item that's part of a larger project, let's get the information out of that email, put it in the to-do item that's being tracked somewhere else, and then archive that email so that we don't have to reference it again. And we've got some really
Right.
slick ways of doing that as well, depending on if you're on Mac or on Windows.
Okay.
So it's really small tweaks to our daily workflow that can really make a big difference.
Right. Thanks for the nitty gritty on that. Cause that's,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh my gosh, that would be so nice. Cause I don't know I know a lot of very disciplined people. I don't know someone that's organizing their download folders on a weekly basis that I know of, although they probably wouldn't
Right.
brag about that on a Friday afternoon. But how do people or companies generally work with you? Is it a project basis? Is it different for individuals than it is for companies? Someone that's listening is like, I would love to get some tips on that. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
I, how would I do that?
Yeah. So we have two ways of working or getting our help. And the first way is through our resource library. So all of this started with one on one coaching. So whether it was an individual for personal stuff, or the CEO of a franchise, or working with them personally to figure out their own folder structure, or for businesses. So we figured out a system of, how do we get someone from chaos to order, and what are the exact steps to execute it from start to finish. And so we would take people through that process. Well, eventually we recorded it to make it a little more accessible to people. It's not really expensive at all to work with us individually. Well, that's all perspective, right? But we wanted to make it really accessible. So for 247, you can get our entire resource library. I'm going to give you a code at the end of the show to get half off of that. But
Okay.
you can go in and self-implement, or if you've got someone on your team who's really tech savvy who can help you and the rest of the team implement this, fantastic. Go in and do that. And then you can book just individual sessions with us if you need to get unstuck. But then if someone
Okay.
wants to work with us one-on-one, we do it on a monthly basis. And it's between
Okay.
1,000 and 2,000 a month to work with our team. And it's just basically unlimited access to us, depending on how much support you need to implement all of this stuff. So you can use that in combination of the resource library and that one-on-one coaching. So we can get in there and really help you figure out, how do you apply this to your particular business or to your household, you know, whatever it is that you're really wanting to work through.
Great. And so let me ask you about tools, because there's
Hmm.
about 1,000 of them for every
Yeah.
every type of application that you want, and everybody wants everybody to use their own, and sometimes it's a power struggle. Like,
Right.
schedule on my
It is.
Calendly. No, I don't use Calendly. I use something else, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Um, like I think my team likes me, but but I've been fake selling them on Evernote for literally 14 years. Like, I always say,
Yeah.
like, it's in Evernote. I have it in Evernote, although my wife will find it in email first. But they're like, we don't use Evernote. Like, they have Google Drive and they have their
Yeah.
own systems.
Mhm.
And is it a question of maybe the company is like, hey, everybody's on whatever,
Mhm.
OnePoint or Microsoft 365, and
Right.
folders and things like that. But at a certain point, for any business owner, they have their own little ecosystem of tools.
Yep.
And there's probably has to be some agreement on, say, like, we use ShareFile, for instance, just like
Mhm.
Dropbox, and
Yeah.
that is one thing that I have gotten the whole team to use. Everybody has
Mhm.
access to their own folders. It makes things
Yeah.
really easy, but there has to be some agreement at a certain level on, hey, these are the tools we're going to use. But at the personal level, people can try to, especially if people change careers or change companies, it's like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, that's different. So do you have like a little ecosystem that you highly recommend, or is it like, we're system agnostic. We're just going to figure out the way for you for
Yeah.
sharing files, for instance? It's like,
Mhm.
someone's got to choose the system that people are
That's
going
right.
to do. So talk to me about
Mhm.
maybe just more specifically, like the file sharing, because that seems to be very, very important for collaboration and access for folks. Otherwise, one person's the bottleneck, and if they're on vacation,
Right.
you got to
Right.
wait till they come back.
Yeah. So the as far as a folder structure goes, or a file sharing platform, our favorite one is Google Workspace, and using Google Drive, just because it's so universal. And especially as the workforce, the workforce that's coming in now, and anyone my age and younger, very familiar with Google. And so it's easy to get up and running. And you've got a lot of people who dislike it for one reason or another. It's usually because of sharing, like they can't figure out the sharing portion. And once you explain that, it's like, oh, got it. That you also
Okay.
need to do the right subscriptions. So while
Oh,
we prefer Google Workspace as a core business tool, we're pretty tool agnostic, because what's way more important than the tool is how you're using it. How
okay.
are you structuring the data in the way that is consistent so that everyone knows where to find things? Is everyone on board in the first place? Or do you have someone using Dropbox, someone else is using Google Drive primarily, but then we also have ShareFile? If we've got a few different places to store things, then we don't have consistency, and that's difficult. So a good structure, a good naming convention is so much more important than the tool. Once
Yeah.
we start analyzing tool against tool, we're really getting to the optimization point. So most of the people that are coming to us they're at a rough place. Stuff's just kind of all over the place. And so
Sure.
we really need to centralize it and get it in one place. And that's the first thing. And in that first kind of interview process, if we realize, you know what, you're not set up for success on this tool, now is the time to change and consolidate, then we can do that and then find the right one for that business. In which case, we're dealing with somebody in the construction industry or dealing with kind of old school and bigger business. It's usually going to be the Microsoft environment, and you should probably stick to that. We're going to recommend you go there. and will help you set up that system within it.
When you're finished with that, I just have a question on naming conventions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So yeah, naming
key.
conventions is super, super key. I want to go back though to what you're talking about with using a bunch of different tools and having Evernote and kind of getting everyone else on board. When you're really small and say you've got 15 or less employees, then you can get away with using more tools and allow the rest of the team to have, oh, I'm using Evernote over here. Oh, I'm using, ClickUp over here or Notion to organize my stuff. And then people are kind of sharing things. Well, you start growing and growing, and then it's really gets out of control fast. And I've got an example of a company who I started with them. It's called Full Focus. Started with them from just their first employee, onboarding them all the way up to about 70, and then cutting back. And so kind of all over the place, and seeing a really flexible software environment.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool at first, and then it just got really, really crazy. It also got expensive for the business because the business was paying for these different subscriptions. And
Okay.
just totally out of control because people would abandon tools because a lot of us have shiny app syndrome where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to solve my problem. So let me go ahead and do that. And again, it's not about the app. It's about how you use it. It's not about ClickUp or Asana or Monday.com. Like, you know, each
Yep.
one of them have different features. So you really actually want to limit the tools that you use as much as possible because you can push Google Drive really far in the Google Workspace. So you don't need hardly any extra tools outside of that until you start specializing. In which
Okay.
case, your franchisor is probably going to supply some of those things for you, that call center, the CRM system and things like that. And you should probably follow that. But you do need to create your own systems to augment what the franchisor is giving you.
For sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, there's a lot more people doing multi-brand franchises. So that becomes a whole different thing. You have to have something that when it gets down to the personal level, whether your CRM or your franchise management system is Fran Connect or Naranja or whatever, like at a certain point it has to be on something that you have in the cloud that you have access to and your team has access
Yeah.
to, the right
Yeah.
people at the right level and the right level of access, because that's how you run an organization. It's not going to be just the tools for the franchise that the franchise is providing, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, the point of sale system that you have is the one that you usually dislike the most because you're very familiar with all the bugs in it. But switch to another one and you'll have the same number of bugs. It'll just be different, right?
Yeah.
So and I think just because I'm significantly older than you is like when like we have younger people on my team and they're like, yeah, I put it in the Google Drive, and I'm like, all right, I'll go search because that's not my world yet, and
Yeah.
certainly not that this is a commercial for Google Drive or anything like that, but it does seem like it's either the Microsoft environment or Google environment, right? That
Yeah, at least
for a lot.
for like your core suite of tools, so that email, calendar, contacts, and then files as well if you want to have everything together. Dropbox
Right.
is also a fantastic choice. I think they're really the best when it comes to like an online file sharing system from an admin point and then just the performance on everyone's computers. But I don't use them because it's not fully integrated and really there are just a few optimizations that are a little bit better, and it doesn't make sense to make that switch when everything else, it's just so much more streamlined when I use Google Drive. And because I've
Sure.
got Docs and Sheets, which I use constantly because I've never lost a file. I've never had a Google Doc corrupt. I've had a lot of Word documents and a lot of Excel documents corrupt, and then have to scramble and then spend half your day trying to get back the work that you spent 2 hours on. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly. So on naming conventions, I'm not asking you to give your secret sauce, but everybody has, it doesn't, not everybody, but a lot of people have different ways of doing that.
yeah.
And I've defaulted to on a number of my things is year, month, day at the start
Hmm.
in reverse
Yep,
order. So they stay in order. And then I can
yep,
at least know like I was talking about that in March or something like that. But
Uh-huh.
we have one file in our shared system that we make fun of, and the file is called Master File of Legal Compliance and Processes Associated with Same. That's the name of the folder. It is the worst name ever. And but is there like a just a basic framework that you recommend, like whether it's
Yeah.
date or whatever? I'll let you
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
on with that.
Totally. Well, happy to share this. It's not a big secret. I posted on YouTube and I'm going to give you a guide on how to implement this naming convention, how to consolidate everything together. So, what we're talking about here, consolidating a good folder structure naming convention, I'm going to give you an entire guide with
Oh,
videos attached of how you can implement this yourself. So, this is completely free. Just
great.
if you want to go to the website, it's going to be thedigitalorganizer.com/real talk.
Okay.
Thedigitalorganizer.com/real talk. So
Got
we'll
it.
put that in the show notes. And so you can click on that and get this guide. So that way you don't have to memorize this content. But I'll give you the framework. And that is year, month, and day. We got to have all the zeros in there. So if it's January, it's going to be 01. If it's the first, it's going to be 01 as well. So year, month, and day. I don't care if you do like dashes or slashes. Slashes usually get messed up because computers think slash is a folder. So we
Right.
use dashes in between. And then after that, I like to have some sort of like category identifier. So, we had a pre-interview call to see if this is a good fit and kind of figure out what direction we would go in for the podcast. So
Yeah.
the name of this file was the date, and then it's outline, and then after that, it's franchise business real talk. So I can just quickly either search for real talk, I can search for outline, or if I remember the date, if I'm looking at my calendar, I can search for it that way. So
Okay.
I've got all the big rocks in that file name. So it's a little bit longer, but it's very descriptive, and you can find what you're looking for by scanning through the list of the files that are in that folder. And
Okay.
then, or you can search for it.
Great. Yeah. The
Mhm.
search capability is the gigantic part, right? Like
Yeah.
if you have a naming
Yeah.
convention, then the search becomes a lot more powerful. If you don't have
Yeah.
one, or if different people on your team are using different ones, it's almost
Yeah.
like that should be one of the onboarding, things like whenever you're
It
saving
should.
something in this company, this is how you do
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we like to do. So when we finish with a business of overhauling their folder structure, we really encourage people like, hey, why don't we do another session or two, and let's record it and do video walkthroughs
Mm.
specifically for onboarding. We're going to give you these videos when we're done with them, and this is going to be part of your onboarding process. And if you work with Annie, our project manager, to build out, project management and even onboarding guides for new employees, especially for employees in your back office who are
Mm.
helping run the business, then you're going to want to have this checklist of the things that they go through, and then also save these in your folder structure in your IT folder of like, video tutorials of how you do what we do and use the core systems. So
Yeah.
when we take someone through a process of creating this new folder structure and naming convention, we're really big on archiving. And so we want to archive stuff that we have completed. And so there are kind of two main levels of archiving for us. There's like a deep archive, which means I'm done with this. Like maybe I transitioned out of this business, or we're no longer offering this anymore. I don't want it to appear in the search results when people are looking for things. We need to create a separate spot that you can call
Okay.
deep archive, and the attic, whatever you want to call it. And you put
Yeah.
stuff in there that really shouldn't be a part of your main folder structure because it's not relevant anymore. And so
Sure.
that's one level. And then the other level is either archive or finished projects or something along those lines to let us know that this is done. So when I'm finished with this podcast, I'm going to take the outline for this and I'm going to put it in archive. And so it's like business partners and like podcasts where I keep all of the notes that I take for relationships that I'm building business wise. And so when something is done, it gets moved up and out. So if I'm preparing for a call, or for a podcast or anything like that. I only have a few things that are upcoming, so it's very easy to find what's coming up next. It's also really easy to find something that's completed because I can go into that same folder and go into archive, and then I can find those, or I can just search for real talk and this outline is going to come right up.
Right.
So it creates a really focused filing system so that you can find what you're looking for quickly, because all of the things that are relevant now and that are upcoming are going to be right at hand. And then everything that's older is just one layer deeper because we're not constantly referencing old stuff. If so,
Right.
it needs to come
Right.
up to the top level.
Yeah. So there's some ongoing cleanup as well, so that what you're looking at going forward is not a bunch of stuff that should be in the rearview mirror. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's really
That's great.
easy. It's really easy to do. And you just like before I started this call, it's like, oh, are there any in here that I finished? And I just moved those up and out. So just to kind of clean up that view a little bit. So you kind of just clean up as you go. You just see something is out of place.
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons why I like doing this cleanup process in archiving is because we really encourage you, when you do a file structure overhaul, that you rename all of the files that are current. And that sounds really scary and like a huge job.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
when yeah, so if we're going to redo everything, that is a massive job. But it doesn't have to be. When we're going to archive the stuff that's not relevant now, if we want to rename them, fantastic. If you've got an executive assistant or someone on your team who's got time, great, put them on this task. But at the top level, it's only a few percent of the amount of files that you have that are relevant right now. And so those are the ones that all need to be renamed. So when people are creating new stuff, all of your files are already named appropriately the first time. So it's really easy to follow along with that naming convention, because if it's just a mishmash, then people can get away with not doing the new naming convention.
Right.
But if
Yep.
all of the files are named beautifully and consistently, and somebody saves something and doesn't do it, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And it's easy to correct that and say, hey, I noticed that you didn't follow the naming convention. Let me show you an easy way to do it. When you save the file, just click on one of the other ones and it'll populate the name. And then you can just update that name for this new document that you're making, so you don't have to type in the whole thing again. So you can show
Yeah.
people like how to do that in a out of curiosity, so that it's
Right.
not really intimidating or breathing down
Right.
someone's neck or
Right.
micromanaging. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just orders from headquarters. It's like, oh, cool. Like now I know
Hmm.
how to do this. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting when, when you're talking about this, just from the franchising perspective, from my own experience, is sometimes when you're drinking water from a fire hose, like when you first start your business and you're getting calls from every marketing company that's disparaging the one that you're using, and
Hmm.
suppliers, and the franchise wants this stuff, and your landlord is asking for whatever they're asking for, proof of insurance or certificates.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, this sounds great, but like, who's got time for that? And I would just caution anybody that's thinking like that, because I've thought like that, is like, no one gets in business to stay at the same size. Like, presumably you're in growth mode when you start a business, whether you want that own single unit to grow and get busier and busier and have more clients, or you want to do multi units or something like that. So in the beginning, it's never, things are never going to be simpler. You're going to have the least amount of people and processes and things in your life. But if you're down the path already and you're drinking out of a fire hose, this is extra work. But what it's setting you up for is a lot smoother work, a lot less stress. I know that when I can find something, it's like a little dopamine hit. Like if someone says something,
Hmm.
like we have people on our team and we'll purposely, I'll go look for it, which is not a great idea, but we do. And whoever gets that file first is the winner, basically. And when you can find something super simple and you feel like I'm on top of this, I think it sounds weird, but it's like a little boost of confidence. Like, I got this. Like,
It
this is a
really
new
is.
challenge. Yeah. But
It
it
feels
but it really
good.
makes a difference in your experience of owning and running a business.
Yeah.
It's
I know
it's
I know so many people feel that. And that's the unexpected upside
yeah.
is like the just that feeling of accomplishment and like pride in having this together. It's like, yeah, I can find that because everyone is used to things being chaotic, of not being able to find things, and the majority of people have just come to accept that this is just the way the digital world works, and it doesn't have to be that way. And when you can be on top of that, it's like, I know right where that is. That feels good. It feels good just in the kitchen of like, where was it at? Oh, yep, I did put it there, and I can find it right away. That little tool or whatever. It's great. But then it makes for a nice working environment for everyone else. But yeah, things don't slow down. They typically just get more complex. And so the sooner you can figure out those systems and get it under control, especially your email, because that's the main fire hose,
Mhm.
throwing things at you. And then they need to go into project management or task management or files. That's the place really to start. Get it under control. Put yourself back in that driver's seat. So when you're taking on that next level, you know how you're going to sort everything, how you're going to triage it of what's important and what's not. And when you've got these good foundational systems for collaboration, you can delegate so much easier and you don't have to take on everything yourself because,
Right.
oh, it's just easier if I do it myself. Well, put the systems in place first, and it's way easier to have someone else do it for you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely worth it from a possibility of growth perspective, from staying sane, from feeling on top of things. And yeah, like some of the most successful franchisees and franchisors that I know all have some kind of system where,
Hmm.
you get a request from someone on email and you're like, I know I have that, but it's going to take me a
Yeah.
little bit to find that and get it to them and things like that. Where if you can get in a proactive state and just be like, yeah, all right, like the leasing company didn't get their certificate of insurance, like, well, I know where those all go. Like it's right here, and
Yep.
you would search up for that date and certificate of insurance and, and you'd find it. And when you get that email, you're not like, oh my gosh, where did I put that?
Yep.
It's like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
I'll get it back to
Yeah.
them. It's a
Yeah.
totally
How's
different thing.
tax season for you? You know,
Yes.
it's like, oh, you've got rental properties. You've got this other business. Your wife has a W-2, but she's got her own little side hustle. So there's those 1099s all over the place. And then there's everything related to your business. That's a huge part too of just being able to find all that stuff. And my God,
Yeah.
my tax season is so easy because it's just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it's all in the folder. Here you go. Just upload that one folder into their share file and it's done.
Right.
It's just because you know exactly where to save it the first time. You get that file. Oh, I put it here. Great. New
Right.
1098 comes in for this next set of properties. Perfect. Download all of them. Here are the names. All
Yep.
set. No
Yeah.
problem.
That's probably a great question for you to ask any prospective client. Like, how's your
Hmm.
tax season? Because people are worried about like the amount of money they're going to have to pay. But I think the
Hmm.
first thing that comes to mind is like, I got to find all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I got to find all
Uh,
that stuff. And if I don't get in time, then you're going to have to pay all the fees.
yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, well, this is great. I really appreciate what you're doing for people. I'm sure it is like literally life changing for some people because if
Yeah.
they're not so stressed out, they can be better with the people around them. You get that confidence
Hmm.
boost. Like
Yeah.
the world's not running me. I have this circle of
Hmm.
control and I've got it dialed in.
Yeah.
So we'll put, of course, your website and the code that you're going to offer. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate that
Absolutely.
and everything so that people can contact you. And so we'll put that in the show notes, but if just in case you want to say it here, in case someone's just listening, that would be great. And then any other way that they can find your YouTube videos and things like that would be great too.
Yeah, totally. So you can search for the digital organizer on any of the social media channels, and we're going to pop up. So very
Okay.
easy to find the digital organizer, and then the digitalorganizer.com, and go to that slash real talk, and that's where you'll get that guide. And actually, I'm going to put the code in that email sequence. So you'll get a code in the email sequence that'll be generated specifically for you. And actually, I think I'm even giving you a little bit more on this one. So,
Okay.
so yeah,
Thank
watch
you.
out for that, and you can get in there and start implementing and get some help if you need to. And yeah, we would just love to talk to you, even if you're looking for a word of advice in one way or another. We've got just a free discovery call. You can hop on a call with me. We can talk about
Great.
where you're at now, if it's a good fit, or I can point you in the right direction if you need something
Sure.
else. So yeah, reach out to us. It's very easy. There's no pressure, and we're just trying to help people become better business owners and really reclaim your inner peace, because business is all about a head game. It's like, get in your head, you're dead. That's what Tony Robbins always says. It's just, and if you're overwhelmed because you can't find things and it's chaotic, you won't want to do this business. You won't want to
Right.
keep going. And it's all about controlling our mental state. So trying to give you some inner peace with all this digital organization, and reach out and see if it's a good fit, and we'll get you some help.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Sean. I'm really looking forward to people checking out your resources. And you can hear from my experience that we might be calling you on a personal level or from a
Yeah, that'd
team
be
level
great.
as well. So
Cool.
really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your information. And I love what you're doing because small business drives this country. We want more people to be doing it, more people changing their lives, having more flexibility, which franchising and small business can provide if you're doing it in the smart way. There's periods of more activity and periods of less, but I love how you're helping people out, because this should be an area that, like, a locus of control that they feel good about,
Yeah,
because there's so much outside that's out of your control. So thanks for what you're doing and helping small business
absolutely.
and big
Yeah,
business in America.
yeah,
So,
totally. Well, I appreciate you letting me come in and talk to your people and just share this stuff. So it means a lot. Appreciate it.
all right, take good care.
You too.